This is Bumper to Bumper, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio, here along with Matt Allen, and we are your KTAR car guys, heard here every Saturday from 11 to noon. At Bumper to Bumper Radio, we're helping you, the motoring public, have a better overall car experience. If you've got car questions, we've got car answers. So we encourage you to give us a call at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR, or you can text your questions to 411-923. Today on the Bumper to Bumper Roadmap, some emails of the week, open texts and phones, and have you been neglecting the maintenance on your vehicle? You know, I'm thinking about that high-speed blinker fluid. That's halogen type, of course. You want to make sure to use the halogen blinker fluid.
That's the only kind I have, Dave, because I'm always going too fast. It's the high-speed stuff.
High-speed stuff. Well, we've also got Joel from Arizona Imports in with us. He's here to help you with your car. Joel always brings some good, different insight to the table than Matt and I have. So good to have you here, Joel. But maintenance is, I'll have a car in my shop that's got 80,000 miles on it, and it is a jalopy, and then I'll have a car next to it with 150,000 miles on it, and it's just a cream puff, clean one owner. Why does that happen? It's all those little maintenances and things that you skip, they all start to add up, and you call it, Matt, the cumulative wear on the vehicle. When you skip an oil change here or there, it should be done at 5,000, but you take it out to 9,000 or 10,000. All that stuff adds up. And at the end of the day, you have problems on a vehicle, and it makes them hard to diagnose at the end of the day because we've got it in our shop and we've got a misfire, but we're looking at so many things that are wrong, and which one do we start with? And it's nothing dramatic or drastic. It's like, hey, we got a little bit of sludge in the engine. We got a little more timing chain slop than we think we should have. And the variable valve time is not quite working right. That's all those oil changes you skipped. Now it's causing a vehicle that's hard to diagnose.
It's I might get some flack for this, but I think we were talking about somebody earlier, and you're like, oh my God, they're that young. So it's kind of like your car. If you treat it well, man, if you're a bar hag smoking and drinking and all that, and then you go stand next to the same 40-year-old dude, you're like, holy smokes, I thought you were 70. Same thing with your car. Take care of it and love it like you love yourself, and it's not only gonna look good, but it's gonna drive well and treat you well. But yeah, that maintenance is important, and I think the other thing too, besides, you take those two cars, two Toyotas, two Hondas, pick your flavor, I don't care. And one person takes care of their car and the other one just neglects everything. Lets the first dent turns to the second dent, and then the so on and so forth. And I forgot what I was going to say. No, but the guys in the shop, they know the difference, and they know the cars that the people like to take care of. And the difference between the cars that they neglect. And I'm a believer that you like to work on, and you take the extra effort to take care of those cars, and the guys don't want to work on some piece of junk and the ashtrays overflowing and stuff. We're gonna get that car and we're gonna fix what you came for.
We're gonna deal with a big contusion. Get the thing on the operating table, but it's still, we're not feeling good about it when we pull it back out in the parking lot.
Yeah, but the cars that are maintained and stuff, we want to work on those because you get more satisfaction out of taking care of them. There's a pride of ownership, and I think that transfers all the way down to the people who take care of your car too. But you can certainly, there's a lot of little things that you skip that can end up costing you a problem, and I think that's where we're going with this, Dave, is not only does the car turn to a piece of junk if you don't take good care of it, but there's consequences to not doing those services. There's consequences to not going to the gym. There's consequences to eating donuts every day.
I think there's a little bit of attitude, because you can take the modern car. I'll just take a modern import Honda Civic. You could probably simply just change the oil and do the brakes and put tires on it and nothing else for the first 90,000 miles. And you know what? By 100,000 miles, it's fallen apart because you've just neglected it. Well, even if you're one of those people that just plans on getting another car, remember that car's got to go to somebody else. So you cause a whole bunch of havoc for that next owner of that vehicle because a lot of stuff has been neglected, and it's cumulative. So we didn't do this, we didn't do that,
But on one hand, if I'm the car owner selling the Civic, that's not my problem. But
it's not ungreen because we just produced this piece of machinery that we got to throw in the garbage.
Go hug your tree, Dave.
Yeah, I got Birkenstocks on this morning, all right?
But it's not his problem. But however, I agree it's not his problem. If he wants to neglect that Civic and pass it on to the next guy. However, the value of the car is drastically reduced much more.
I would agree with that.
So it really is your problem. I mean, you may not care what happens to the next guy that owns the car, but you're going to get a lot more for your car when you go to sell it or trade it in if it's properly taken care of. So
it'll last you a lot longer, too. I see the snowball effect, I call it all the time. The side view mirror's broken. I don't want to fix it right now. Then it comes back next month, and it's got a small valve cover leak. Oh, it's not really hurting me. Then a year later, you got a broken mirror, a valve cover leak. Now you got a misfire, and the car just becomes a piece of junk way before its time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been in the bar drinking and smoking all year. Every day after work, you know what I mean?
Well, you even see it in your neighborhood at your neighbor's house, You let this go, you let that go. The weeds are growing up the doors, the doors in the, I don't know. It's just, it is pride of ownership. And not only that, it's, we were working on a car this week, and it just, the engine didn't run quite right, and the car was still drivable and there was no lights on, but it ran like a dog. You might as well enjoy driving this car because it has been well maintained. And you don't realize, you always talk about the mattress. The mattress is worn out after a decade, but you don't really realize it until you get a new one. You're like, wow, that's nice. Well, that car can maintain that performance all the way through, and you'll still enjoy driving it like the day it was new as long as you take care of it. When I buy a new car, man, I'm parking it like the furthest parking spot from the front door of the grocery market. After I've had that car for 10 years, I'm parking right next to the front door. Okay, so let's rattle through some of the things that end up costing you money. So we neglect oil changes. I can think of a couple things. I see cars where the oil changes have been skipped. They have a propensity to leak oil more because the gaskets harden. They've got the oil is just as fresh, and fresh oil keeps gaskets soft and pliable, and they just bake. Joel, what's something else that you would see from an oil change neglect?
Oil change, you get more oil leaks, like you said. You get cars that burn oil. The valve stem seals get hard, and they start smoking in the morning. You get sludge buildup in the engine, which just causes the life of the engine to go downhill.
And like variable valve timing, we've got these BMWs, these Audis, even the Hyundais and Kias and the cheap Fiats. All that performance is around the computer being able to adjust on the engine. So just neglecting the oil change, it could cost you a couple $1,000s in incidental another little problem. So.
And it's annoyance trips to the shop is the other thing. I always seem like I'm going to the shop. Well, but people went from, we used to change our oil every 3 months or 3,000 miles. I mean, that was the religion 20 years ago. That's just what you did. And people realized, well, that's kind of, cars are changing. We don't have big old leaky carburetors leaking down and all that stuff. And so we can start to stretch that out. And we went to the other extreme.
We're way past.
We went way to the other extreme, and at the same time, the manufacturers changed the technologies to where these engines need more oil changes. Well, yeah. And everyone's of the mindset, they don't need that many oil changes anymore.
It's marketing. So cooling system, you neglect the cooling system. What goes bad there? I can think of the belts, the hoses, they rot from the inside out. But we had Terry in here from 1-800-Radiator, and he was talking about, the cooling system gets a little bit low. You neglect it. Now, instead of having water in the system, you've got steam. Now it bakes the resins in the plastic radiators differently, and they become more brittle. So now you have cooling problems.
You get a lot of corrosion. I just had a Volkswagen the other day leaking at the flange. We go to change the flange. The coolant becomes so acidy, it had eroded the cylinder head, where if it would have had regular coolant services, that wouldn't have happened.
Right. And Joel, spark plugs. What do you stress out when you have spark plugs with a 500 thousandths gap, or I'm just making up a number?
You're ruining the ignition coils are working twice as hard. You can't get them out because of the carbon buildup. Mm-hmm. The manufacturers have made us think that cars don't need maintenance anymore. they do need maintenance, but all the books end and nobody maintains them after that.
Right. So, and coils, spark plug wires. Dave, what else? What are you thinking? Transmission fluid.
Transmission fluid. People don't service the transmission. I'm here to tell you, man, transmissions fail 4-to-1 over engines.
It's lifetime. The fluid's lifetime.
It's lifetime. Yeah, the lifetime of the transmission. So if you want to buy a transmission because it's so much fun, you're more than welcome to. Don't service it. And we got an email this week about transmission service, and it doesn't tell me in my manual to do it that much, but why? So we'll talk about that. We've got Larry, Linda, and Sandy, and a couple open lines at 602-277-5827. You can also text us at 411-923. You're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTAR car guys, on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi, this is Greg LaFonsi of Automotive Diagnostic Specialties. Long name, right? But we have a short, simple goal. Customer satisfaction is our number one priority, and everything else takes care of itself. Bumper to Bumper Radio approved. ADS is a family-owned and operated state-of-the-art repair facility that has an expert staff that for the second straight year has earned the coveted AAA Top Shop Award as one of the best shops in the nation. Just east of I-10 on Chandler Boulevard. Find us at automotiveddiagnosticspecialties.com.
It's really coming down now, and that little voice is saying shoulda, coulda, woulda. You meant to call Kaiko Roofing last storm, but you didn't, did you? Now it's raining cats and dogs, and Mr. Shoulda, coulda, woulda is watching a puddle form on the ceiling. If the roof on your home or business is over 10 years old, get rid of shoulda, coulda, woulda. Call Kaiko Roofing at 602-944-4600 for a free checkup today. At Kaiko, we install peace of mind with the finest materials and the most skilled workers, all backed by the owner's pride guarantee. Flat, foam, tile, or shingle, Kaiko handles them all. From a small leak to a complete new roof, Kaiko has you covered. Since 1994, Kaiko has repaired or replaced tens of thousands of valley roofs. Over 50% of our business coming from referrals or repeat customers. In fact, over 98% of our customers say they would refer us to a friend. For more information and financing options, go to KaikoRoofing.com. Kaiko Roofing. We're crazy about quality.
World class and in your own backyard. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is just around the corner at 7th Street in Virginia. And for over 19 years, they've been recognized as one of the best auto repair shops in the country. Voted Best Auto Repair by AZ Central, A+ rated by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranty, and complimentary transportation to and from your home or office. Virginia Auto. They're serious about service. See for yourself. VirginiaAutoservice.com.
This is Bumper to Bumper Radio, KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and today we've got Joel Bartko from Arizona Import Specialist. They work on everything, but they are really, really, really good at BMWs and Volkswagens, and they're really good at everything. Joel's one of the best technicians I know. He's not he's blushing a little bit, but when I want to know something, he's always a guy I'm going to call and just say, "Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?" And he's always got good answers. So
one of the many things I like about Joel, he gets fired up. He's passionate about doing good work and doing the right things by the customers. And I think sometimes he goes overboard with taking care of people, honestly. But he's a good guy. That's why I like to talk to him like you. I have a problem, or we sometimes share tools. These tools that work on cars are so expensive, and we can't have all of them. And but it's always great to talk to Joel. He's just passionate about.
You can always call him at 3 a.m. because he doesn't sleep. He's always, "Hey, Joel, Dave. Hey, hope you don't mind me calling you so late." No problem, dude. I'm just reading tech manuals. He is that guy. He reads every piece of technical information there is, and so that's a little bit unusual. I mean, a lot of guys like to stay up, but he really stays up. So anyway, well, if you're joining us, this is Bumper to Bumper Radio. We're helping you have a better car experience. We are going to go with Linda in Phoenix. She's got a 2008 Cadillac SRX. How can we help you today, Linda? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
As you said, I have a 2008 Cadillac SRX, and it seems to be eating a lot of oil frequently. There is 45,000 miles on the car, and I change the oil or have the oil changed approximately every 3,000 to 4,000 miles. And a few months ago, I took my car in. I go to Stacy's up in the air park in Scottsdale, and to have the oil changed, and the car was 3 quarts low, and it was running. I took it in, too, because it was not running right. It seemed to be not stalling, but it would slow down and pick up speed, and I knew something was wrong. So, anyway, they told me that there's a problem with the V6 engine in these cars where they seem to eat oil. So, anyway, about every 8/3 oil gas fill-up now, I have to add a quart of oil. So I'm wondering if you have any comments or suggestions.
Yeah, I mean, Stacy's is a good shop, and that's another name for Air Park Auto Service. It's Stacy's Air Park Auto Service, which is one of the bumper-to-bumper shops. And I think what you need to do you're getting into that 40-some-odd thousand mile, 47,000. That might still be under the powertrain warranty.
I was thinking about it. It's 7 years old, so I think they went like 5,100 on that. Maybe.
Yeah, it could be 7,100 because it's a Cadillac, a little better than the standard
right.
GM. The first thing I would do is get your VIN number and get a hold of the dealership and find out if you've got some warranty on that. And you want to get that documented right away. And they're going to want to do an oil consumption test on that, and it takes some time. And what they do is they just don't want people just, oh, yep, looks like it's full, and guessing. So they're going to do something where they're going to seal the dipstick. They're going to want to change the oil, exactly mark where it is, and then monitor that. If it doesn't have any warranty on it, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where you could try changing oils. There's some some chemical companies and additives. I think Stacy's that they have up there at Air Park. It's a BG product. We were talking about it before the show. Sometimes those, I don't want to call it snake oil, but a lot of them are. But sometimes those things will work, and you've got nothing to lose. But I would certainly be looking at if there's
those engines are been known to burn some oil, but like Matt said, I think you need to know exactly how much you're burning by having an oil change, marking the stick, go 500 miles, see how much you use, go 1,000, because the manufacturers consider oil varies 1,250 miles as normal.
Yeah,
they'll say more than that. I don't consider it myself, but if you looked it up, they do consider certain oil consumption. You don't see the smoke no more. Years ago, you saw the smoke out the tailpipe. Nowadays, the catalytic converter eats up that smoke. So,
well, and the other thing is, we see problems with people overfilling the oil, and I'm not even close to suggesting that that's happening here. But when we see cars that have been repetitively overfilled on oil, you also get a premature failure of the catalytic converter. So that's some of the other things that can go along with that if it goes. But the first thing I would be doing is going to make sure you're on the record if there's any warranty left. If there's no warranty left, you've just got to try whatever you can try, switch it up a little bit, and have them get creative for you.
Thanks so much for the call, Linda. 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. We are going to go with Sandy in Phoenix on a 2007 Mazda 3. How can we help you today, Sandy? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
It's a 2007 Mazda 5.
Dave needs glasses.
I do need glasses, but they changed the font in here, and I can't read it from this distance.
That's okay. Thanks for taking my call. Over a month ago, I went in to start my car, and when I went to shift it, because it's a manual, and I went to put it in first gear, and it was like I could not get no gas. Like there was nothing. I put it all the way to the floor and was moving, but it was like my foot was all the way to the floor, and then I pulled off and stopped it, and I turned it on again, and I tried to go, and it did the same thing. So I turned it off, and I didn't know what to do. So I did it one more time, and then the engine revved like that, and then it was fine. It started to drive just normal, and maybe about almost a month ago after that, it did the same thing again. So I was kind of wondering, could that be like a fuel filter, a fuel injection, something like that? I don't know. Fuel sensor.
I'm a little confused if we're having like a clutch issue, like where you put the car in gear, you let the clutch out, and the car doesn't want to move, and then you're revving it and nothing's happening. Is that what I'm hearing?
No,
Okay.
It goes. I just have to push the gas all the way to the floor.
So it's like it's not running right.
Are there any warning lights on?
No.
Does the throttle feel like it just like you touch the accelerator pedal and it doesn't do anything?
No, it does go. When I put it in gear, I just have to push the gas all the way to the floor. I can shift it all the way to 4 to 5 and go on the freeway. It'll go up to 60 miles an hour, but it's not. That's with my foot all the way to the floor.
Okay, I think we're still a little bit confused. When your foot's all the way to the floor and you're going 60 miles an hour, is it in the normal RPM range, like 2,300 RPMs or something?
Yeah.
Or is
yeah,
it, or is it up, hold on
yeah,
a second.
It still goes up to like the number 3. You know, that's where it's usually at when I'm in the freeway. It goes up to from, to the third where it says number 3 and it runs, and then it just, for some reason, I get off and I'll turn it back on again. I'll turn it off, and then I turn it back on, start the engine again, and it's fine. It drives good. It just.
What part of Phoenix are you in?
I'm in northeast Phoenix, like Desert Ridge area.
Okay. The last caller was mentioning a place called Stacy's or Air Park Auto Service. I'm still a little confused at actually what's happening. And I think you need to get it into a shop and let somebody at least test drive it. Go talk to them. And if you're in that Desert Ridge area, Stacy's is in the Air Park, hence the name, Air Park Auto Service. They're on the east side of the runway over there.
I kind of feel like we had an engine that was just totally lacking power. That was as we were talking through it, at first I didn't know we were talking about a clutch thing. What was your take, Joe?
I was thinking fail-safe because she said she turned it off and went back on, but no lights. I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe a catalytic converter restricting on the car, but usually something's going to cause that to fail. You usually have a light on or something like that. I think we need to get narrowed down.
Someone needs to see that one.
We need to get narrowed down to what the what the symptoms are, and then we'll have a lot better luck.
When we come back, we're taking your phone calls at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. You can also text us at 411-923. You're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTAR Car Guys, Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Ouch! Being out of tune is no fun, and maybe even a little painful. Hi, this is Lee Weatherby, owner of Accurate Automotive in Mesa. At Accurate, we are a family-owned and operated one-stop automotive repair shop that specializes in building long-term relationships that are in tune with your needs, not ours. We've been recognized nationally as one of the top shops in the country, but for over 20 years, our priority has stayed focused on providing quality automotive service and repair at a fair price. I invite you to come in and see the difference an in-tune relationship can make for you and your car. With our free courtesy inspection, a $49 value, we feel it is well worth our investment in you because we believe good long-term relationships start early with your first walk through our doors. Accurate Automotive, home of friends serving friends, just off Broadway and Robson in Mesa since 1992. For more information, check us out online at AccurateAutomotiveAZ.com today.
Golf fans, come join Bunker to Bunker, the golf show, as we kick off our 2015 Bunkerville Charity Tournament Series and celebrate the grand opening of the spectacular Wickenburg Ranch Golf and Social Club. This is the club that everyone is talking about. Join us Saturday, February 28th for our two-man scramble benefiting the Folds of Honor Foundation with golf, prizes, lunch, and a free Travis Matthew golf shirt and warm-up, all for just $94. Space is very limited, so register today. For registration and info, go to bunkergolf.com.
This is Bumper to Bumper Radio, KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and we've also got Joel Bartko from Arizona Import Specialist in Tempe here to help us help you with your car. And I want to take a look here at the text here. We've got one that says, which is better, Ford or GM? And that's just a whole argument itself. So I can't even address that text.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke or Pepsi? Which do you like?
Depends what you're drinking with it.
It's all a personal preference. And then we're talking about maintenance. So someone's got a Chevy Silverado with 80,000 miles on it. There's 3 different filters for the transmission. He wants to service his own transmission. And where does he find the code for the filter? Always take the old filter and match it up to the one you get off the shelf at the parts repair place. It's, they have deep pan, 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive, even though it's the same transmission, there may be, 3 or 4 variations. So just match it up. It should look like the one you took out, and set it on the bench to make sure it's exactly the same height as the last one you took out.
Dave, do people accidentally leave some parts behind when they change that filter once in a while? Like an
Yes.
O-ring?
Yeah, there's that's the classic burn-up transmission from a service that happened 6 months earlier. But what happens is on that I think you have a 4L60 in there if I'm guessing right, but there's a gasket where the filter slides up into the pump. The new filter kit will come with that same little gasket or O-ring, and the tendency is to want to drive that into the bottom of the pump and not take the old one out.
Well, because you pull the old filter out and it leaves the O-ring behind, and you don't know the difference. You don't know it's there. Yeah.
You don't have to change it on a 4L60. They don't, and they never go bad.
No.
So we don't change them.
Yeah, right.
No, seriously.
Okay.
You just leave it on that particular one. Just leave it there.
Okay. All right.
Better safe that way. Joel's looking at me crazy. There's that's the practicality side of, it's not something you work in every day. You're going to cause more problems by putting a pick in there and trying to scratch the old one out and creating a leak. It's just best not to.
All righty then.
Well, let's get to Harry in Mesa on a 2012 Nissan Pathfinder. Harry, you're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Had a quick question or get your perspective on something. Bought this from the dealership. It was used, had about 14,000 miles on it when we purchased it. 6 months or so into owning the vehicle, noticed that the speedometer was off between 3 to 5 miles an hour, depending on the speed, at anywhere from 25 miles an hour up through 85 miles an hour. And it was reading high up through the whole range. Addressed it with the dealership. Dealership actually took their computer in the car, did a test drive, validated the same findings that I was having, comparing it to my GPS. Basically, their mechanic went in, did some adjustments on each of the wheels so that they were all consistent, didn't impact the variance at all. Came back and said, sorry, that's as good as it's going to get, and it's within Nissan standards, so live with it, essentially.
That always makes you feel good.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the customer service on that. They said, well, you can call the Nissan national number, and I called the guy, told him my experience, and he was all over it going, hey, that's not right, blah, blah, blah. And then called me back and said, well, I talked to the service manager, who, by the way, would never talk with me, and said, no, that's all that they can do. It's within standards, and that's what the NTSB says is the National Highway Safety, the NH, whatever it is.
I have several thoughts. Joel, I don't know if you know anything. Joel knows a lot about this
I was just
particular
wondering,
model.
Does it have stock wheels and tires?
Yeah, it was straight. It's all factory, as far as I know.
I get a little testy. I guess that's one thing that kind of sucks about being the dealership. You can't blow anybody off and tell them to go to the dealership. But I would say, that's what the NTSB says. Could you show me that document, please?
I'd love to see it.
Yeah. Maybe that's just it, but you said a couple things that made me question. There's no adjustments at the wheel. There's no adjustment to do. The GMs, you can change the size of the tire. You can do certain things. There's just nothing. They haven't been experienced enough of that problem yet, I guess. I don't know where I would go.
The only thing I was thinking would be some kind of software calibration, but it doesn't sound like anything I've ever dealt with. How do you know that it's off?
Yeah, well, he said he's using the GPS, and I would bet that the GPS is pretty accurate. I think the easiest way is you go put the thing on 60 miles an hour and you get out on the highway, get on I-10 where there's no traffic, and you can go 60 and go the old-fashioned way and just hit the stopwatch. If you go more than a mile in 60 seconds or less, then you're off. That's
right. And I would be curious. I mean, the scanner, if I'm reading the scanner, it's telling me what the number is. So if the scanner says, we're going 35 miles an hour, and the speedometer says we're going 40, well, then maybe we got a speedometer head problem. Some up there, that thing's not reading right.
Yeah, because you have wheel speed sensors that you can monitor, and you'd have a vehicle speed sensor you monitor, but somebody would have to really be in there and looking at everything.
Yeah, and it's under warranty, and you know what? They don't get paid to check stuff out under warranty. So that's like the value of free diagnosis. There isn't any a lot of times. So, they're going to get to build their 310s. How's that work in the dealership, Joel? Yep. That's all they're going to get paid. They're not interested. On to the next one.
I remember years ago in the 90s, Pathfinders had speedometer problems when they were still mechanical, just going digital. And we used to take two cars together on the freeway and try and match them up because there was no GPS back then. But I've never ran into that with the GPS and the speedo being different.
For sure. Well, thanks for the call, Harry. We are going to go with, looks like, Wesley in Chandler on a 2002 Honda Accord. How can we help you, Wesley?
Hey, guys. How you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
Hey, well, I have my car, a 2002 Honda Accord, and there are times when I'm driving on the freeway, when I go over 60 miles per hour, that my right wheel passenger side shakes real hard. And it seems to do it when it's when the weather is colder. So in the morning, driving on the freeway, I don't have this problem. But later in the day where it's warm, that's where it tends to shake. And I've checked my tire, and it's in good shape. So what do you guys think?
When you say you checked your tire, what does that mean?
I went and looked at it, see if the tread was, messed up, or see if the tires, warped or anything like that. I didn't see any problem with the tire.
Well, I guess what I'd be looking at first is if that came into my shop, we're going to go test drive the car. And then depending on what we feel, we're going to be looking at maybe just checking the tire balance. We're going to pull the front tires off, throw them up on the machine, see if they're out of balance. If they are, we're going to balance them, put them back on and drive it. Next thing, but you said the cold and the heat. Maybe there's a strut binding up, Joel. I've seen that on some of the Hondas, and
when they don't bounce down. The other thing, if you want to see if it's in the wheel tire and you're trying to do it yourself, rotate it to the back and see if it follows the tire.
Yeah, we had a CRV at the shop yesterday, and did some struts, did an alignment, and it had a torn axle boot. No other symptom. We put new axles in it. The thing vibrated like crazy, which wasn't there. Got another brand. I mean, we use good stuff. A second brand, new axle, another vibration at a different speed, but the same thing. It was an axle. Third set of axles before we put them in, we said, well, let's just put a boot on this one or go get those axles rebuilt, put them back in, car's fine.
I was thinking about what you said, too, about the Honda. I lifted a Honda, changed the oil one time, let it down. Customer comes back, says, you messed up my car. It rides like a truck. Just by lifting up the shock, and when it went back down, it would no longer compress.
Yeah, no rebound or jounce, and that was probably a CRV. Happens all the time.
Back to what you said, Matt, and Joel and I have this conversation all the time. Axles, you can get a brand new axle, may not be as good as the one you're taking out of the car. So sometimes, is it more valuable to reboot it? I mean, if that boot hasn't been torn open for long, like where it's been devoid of grease and it's not clicking and all that stuff, maybe it's worth rebooting that axle, and go in that direction versus replacing it, because you had more problems than you had when you started.
Yeah, I agree. We got our butts kicked on that one.
So anyway, well, we're going to go with Mark in Mesa on a 2008 Cadillac CTS. Mark, you're on Bumper to Bumper Radio. How can we help you?
Hey, guys. On our car, we've been noticing as we walk up to the car, we smell fuel. There's no leaks on the ground or anything in the driveway, but just sitting in the driveway at the house, we can smell fuel. And we had taken it to the dealer for just a standard oil change. It was due, and they mentioned that we needed a new fuel pump, and it was an expensive change out, and we didn't opt for that at the time. But I was wondering your thoughts, why they would say we need a fuel pump, kind of where their thoughts are on that.
I would be wondering the same thing too. How do you come to that conclusion with an oil change? But they may have seen something.
When you smell the gas, is it more towards the rear of the car or toward the engine compartment?
I'd say towards the rear of the car. Where my wife parks it, I always walk up on the rear passenger side.
What I suspect, and I see a lot of lately, is the top of the tanks, the senders are plastic, and they leak out of there, and that's part of the fuel pump. That might have been why they might have noticed up in the air a stain or the smell themselves. That's what I'd be thinking.
Yeah, like Joel said, that's the fuel pump, the fuel sending unit, and even some valves and stuff are a one module unit, and it's a plastic hanger that goes in there. There's an O-ring that could be leaking, and then sometimes there's just the plastic. And what we found, we had a Jeep the other day, and we went to go change out the little nipple on the fuel housing was broken, and the tech was putting it back together. He's like, Matt, look, I re-put the hoses back on, and it's pulling that tight. We went to the manual, checked things, and the what do you call it? We took the part number. It was a revised part number. They make that hose like 1/8 of an inch longer now. And so we caught it. We replaced the hose, and so it could be tugging on that plastic. But I would say maybe short fill the gas tank,
right?
And see if it doesn't have the symptoms there,
for sure,
and see what happens.
Well, so even though the fuel pump, even though it's working, there could be just a leak in the unit itself at the top. You're saying?
Yeah, it could. Yeah, it could be. That's why I would suggest short filling the tank and seeing if on a with putting less gas in it, if it doesn't do it. I can't get that line back on hold.
So anyway, we're going to go to our email of the week. You can email us at bumpertobumperradio.com. It's where we get a lot of our show topics, things that we think people want to know about. You can send us an email there. Today we're talking about maintenance, so I thought this one would be appropriate. Ed C. has a 2012 CRV. He was in at the dealership getting his oil change, and at 30,000 miles, they recommended his transmission service, and he couldn't find that recommendation anywhere in the owner's manual except when towed behind an RV. And so he was a little bit confused. And I think in the Honda owner's manual, and I haven't read one lately, I think 30,000 miles is the recommended interval for a transmission service. But whether it is or it isn't, it's a good idea based off of what we're seeing out there and the way the service is going on the transmissions.
I just want to say one thing about maintenance that we were speaking about that none of us mentioned earlier. One of the most overlooked maintenance I find on Japanese cars is valve adjustment.
Yeah.
Valve adjustment, oil change, and transmission service. And like I said earlier, transmissions are failing 4-to-1 over engines. So it's something that, we've been servicing them less, but something that's failing more.
You said Honda CRV, and that's the one that came to my mind. Adjust the valves, $250. Don't adjust the valves, $3,500 for a burnt valve.
So don't skip that recommendation. When we come back, we've got room for maybe one more phone call at 602-277-5827. You're listening to Matt and Dave on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
World class and in your own backyard. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is just around the corner at 7th Street in Virginia. And for over 19 years, they've been recognized as one of the best auto repair shops in the country. Voted Best Auto Repair by AZ Central, A+ rated by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranty, and complimentary transportation to and from your home or office. Virginia Auto. They're serious about service. See for yourself. VirginiaAutoservice.com.
Have you been told you need to spend over $4,000 on a new hybrid battery? Hi, Glenn Hayward here for the Hybrid Shop at Good Works Auto Repair. If your hybrid has been losing fuel efficiency or become sluggish, the problem may be a battery issue. But replacing the battery with the dealer for $4,000 or $5,000 is crazy when the Hybrid Shop at Good Works Auto Repair can condition your battery to like new for as low as $1,300. Visit GoodWorksAutoRepair.com for details. Experience what auto service should be.
Hi, this is Greg LaFonsi of Automotive Diagnostic Specialties. Long name, right? But we have a short, simple goal. Customer satisfaction is our #1 priority, and everything else takes care of itself. Bumper to Bumper Radio approved. ADS is a family-owned and operated state-of-the-art repair facility that has an expert staff that for the second straight year has earned the coveted AAA Top Shop Award as one of the best shops in the nation. Just east of I-10 on Chandler Boulevard. Find us at automotivediagnosticspecialties.com.
Fix it or forget it. This is the show that'll help you decide what to do with your car. Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I'm Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and we've got Joel Bartko from Arizona Import Specialist in Tempe in with us. And we're talking about maintenance today, and I want to finish up on that last phone call because maintenance is important to your vehicle. You're going to find the base recommendations in the owner's manual. And Matt and I were talking about that before. So regardless if this Honda in this situation said service at 30,000 miles or don't service at 30,000 miles, I personally would be recommending the service at 30,000 miles because I've taken these things apart, I've rebuilt these transmissions, and I know they need service and that the fluid does break down. So I would recommend it to you, but the owner's manual is always a good point of reference from what maintenance is required. If you're never sure, you can email the show. We'll talk about it on the show. At bumpertobumperradio.com is the website there. There's a contact link. On there, you can send us emails, and then we'll bring up whatever your question is on the show. So anyway, we're going to go with Brian in Mesa on a 2008 GMC Suburban. How can we help you today, Brian? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Appreciate it. Got a doozy for you, and hopefully you can help me. I'm a home mechanic, homegrown, and I don't do any major stuff to the engine, but I like to do most everything else all around it. But in this case, I was rushing. I had a power steering, that noise it makes when it gets low, power steering grinding, and
Whine.
Yeah, exactly. And so quickly grabbed what I thought was the key. What I thought was I was also low on brake fluid. I was low on both. Anyway, long story short, I switched the bottles up. I put power steering fluid into the master cylinder reservoir.
Oopsie daisy.
Yeah, but here's the bigger problem. I didn't notice it until 7 months later. I threw it in there. I was rushing. Anyway, 7 months I drove with it like that. Long story short, I replaced everything. I replaced the calipers. I replaced the master cylinder. I replaced even the ABS module. And here's the key to my question. I replaced the ABS module, and I was getting some alerts on my dash every once in a great while for traction control and ABS. And when I found out what happened to my brake lines, I assumed, okay, it was because I ruined the module. So I replaced the entire thing just to make sure I cleaned everything out, bled the heck out of it. Problem is that now on my dash, all three of my lights are on. Red brake light, ABS light, and traction control light, solid state, are all on, and it's a brand new module. Do I just have a bad module, or did I do something wrong and not configure it correctly, or what do you guys think?
Well, one thing I didn't hear you say you replaced in there was the brake proportioning valve, so that could still be a problem. Now, when you say you got a brand new module, you went to the GM dealer, I'm assuming, and bought a whole new module with the hydraulic parts, the electronic pump, the electronic controls, everything?
I'm sure that's what a smart guy would do. But, no, I just ordered just the module online because that was the only piece that ran the fluids through it. I didn't think I needed the other electronic board.
When you say the module, do you mean the pump or the electronic part?
The pump part, just the part that the lines are running through.
Probably totally unrelated. You probably have the bad module, the part that if you change that over, you had to take off an electronic part, and it probably looked like it had like 16 different round discs or magnets in it, and you can separate those and have those repaired or buy a new one. So that's probably just something that has nothing to do with the brake fluid. It's just coincidental. I guess I would go back and make sure you check your connections and stuff there, make sure that's good. The good news, the light is on solid. You may just have to bite the bullet and have somebody go in there with some test equipment and diagnose it, so you're not just wasting money potentially on replacing parts.
We could be needle in a haystack we could be totally the wrong direction. Just a simple, hey, where is the computer's going to point us at least in the direction of where we think we should be looking.
Yeah. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about bumpertobumperradio.com. When you go visit that website, if you're there, like us on Facebook. Dave and I always joke we need some friends.
For sure.
There is a Bumper to Bumper Facebook page. You have some opportunities there to find shops in your area. You can find one near your work. You can find one near your home. You can look at a map, see where they are. You can search them by zip code. And all those shops are just independently owned good shops. There's also some sections where you can contact us and send us email. If you're just looking for a shop, we still get all kinds of questions. I just need a shop. Well, you're already there. You can find that shop there while you're visiting bumpertobumperradio.com. And if you have a question and your hair's not on fire, so to speak, and you don't have an immediate concern and you just want to learn something about your car, we're always taking those emails and we'll use them on the air, and it's good for show topics for us. But again, if you have an immediate need, we're probably not going to be answering those right away. Get to one of the shops on Bumper to Bumper and get guidance from them if you have a real problem. And Dave, we've got some of those emails today that I think we can talk about. One easy one, it's maybe not so easy. Somebody just needs to know about transporting their car, doing like a cross-country shipment. Now, what comes to my mind right away, because recently out at the Barrett-Jackson, you see all these trucks around, is reliable transport and pilot transport. Now, they're high-end cars. If you're shipping a Classic or you've got a new Mercedes or Beamer or something, those are the guys you want to use. But that business is a little weird. You can go to the phone book or search on the internet and call one person, and they're like brokers. You're going to all of a sudden have 30 people calling you with offers. And I think you've just got to do your due diligence, ask the questions, make sure they've got insurance. Sometimes maybe even calling your insurance company to make sure your coverage is in place for that shipment. And they might have a suggestion for a transport company too. And the more flexible you are, if they can use you for filler just to be that last car in the load, you might be able to get a better deal.
Little economy of scale for sure.
Most of those transports, they're just brokers put them on this thing called central dispatch.
Yeah.
And then the truckers pick them off there on their route, and that's how that's done.
Yeah.
It's very rarely
business.
done on time, though.
In the email that we did for Ed, he said that he doesn't always get to listen to the show and can we respond to email. And I just don't have time. But Ed can definitely find all our shows at bumpertobumperradio.com. Usually within a week or two, the show is going to be up there. So if you ever want to go back to an old show or an old topic where you thought, that was pretty interesting. What did those guys say about that?
Yeah.
So you can find that at bumpertobumperradio.com.
Thanks for mentioning that. Hey, I want to go to one email that kind of irks me, and we'll have to wrap up after this, but it's from Matt. And he's got a 2005 Kia. I'm going to summarize here. Check engine lights on. Shop tells me I have a misfire on cylinders 2 and 4. When I asked about repairing it, they told me it didn't think it was worth the repairs. The costs were too high, and it may not even fix the problem. He just said drive it till it dies. That might be a month or it might be several years.
Well, that sounds like really bright advice.
That is horrible advice. I mean, that's horrible. Now, maybe we're missing something here, but I would be wanting to know what's the problem, what was the diagnosis, what is the repair, and give me guidance and let me decide.
Don't decide for me the car's not worth fixing.
I think you're getting bad advice, and if you hear something like that, maybe it's time to start shopping for a new shop. And again, you're going to find guys that will take care of you and hopefully not give you advice like that. At bumpertobumperradio.com.
Well, thanks for joining us. If you're looking for a great shop like Arizona Imports, you can find them at bumpertobumperradio.com. And as Matt mentioned, be sure to like us on Facebook. Thanks, Bree, for running the dials and screening our phone calls. Remember never to text and drive, and buckle up. See you next week.
There's nothing more important than family. Hi, Kurt Rock for Kurt's Auto Repair. Family owned and operated and Bumper to Bumper Radio preferred. We've been taking care of Valley families and their auto care needs with a perfect Better Business record for over 27 years. Come experience the difference our ASE Master Techs can make for you and your family at Kurt's Auto Repair. Just east of I-17 at 22nd Avenue and Bell Road, or online at mycarhurts.com. Gas or diesel, foreign or domestic. If your car hurts, take it to Kurt's.
Golf fans, come join Bunker to Bunker, the golf show, as we kick off our 2015 Bunkerville Charity Tournament Series and celebrate the grand opening of the spectacular Wickenburg Ranch Golf and Social Club. This is the club that everyone is talking about. Join us Saturday, February 28th for our two-man scramble benefiting the Folds of Honor Foundation with golf, prizes, lunch, and a free Travis Matthew golf shirt and warm-up, all for just $94. Space is very limited, so register today. For registration and info, go to bunkergolf.com.
Hi, I'm Scott, General Manager with Whitey's Auto Repair here in South Scottsdale. We built a reputation for quality auto service and repair for over 45 years, and our customers have come to trust us for our recommendations. We value that trust, and that's why when it comes to transmissions, for the past several decades, we have been recommending Tri-City Transmission. They have yet to disappoint. I feel so strongly about it, I wouldn't go anywhere else. Why would you? Google them online today at tricitytransmission.com. Go where the pros go. Tri-City Transmission.
Join us for everything automotive on Bumper to Bumper Radio with Dave Riccio and Matt Allen, the KTAR Car Guys, every Saturday, 11 to noon on KTAR News 92.3 FM. Winter is finally here. Is your car ready? Whether it's snow up north, rain in the valley, or 75 degrees, Dave and Matt got you covered. And remember, 24/7, there's bumpertobumperradio.com.